so this is my analysis from GG's point of view. I'm still not too sure how I want to do this. You have to forgive my voice. I just woke up not too long ago, but okay. So something I was looking at earlier, and I think it is feasible. So a big part of this matchup from Mikoto, I think, is obviously having to deal with Rusian, because normally Mikoto is playing this keep away style. This I mean, you could say zoner, but I don't think zoner is the word. But Tatsuya is just going to do it better, and having Rusian means you can't really play how you want normally. So being aggressive is the key, but at the same time we have to worry about protecting Kouko. Obviously this, you know, I get what you're going for, this charge 5C, it's fine. That's not a big deal. It's this situation I want to talk about. So calling Kouko was good. On this tech away when he goes this far, so at this spacing, you have the right idea down. There's two ways we can approach this spacing, right? So when he air techs away like this, or you know, he could have power blasted you away. But there's two ways we can approach this. So you chose to jump, but ideally you'd want to super jump, and I'm gonna go ahead and show why. Calling Rusian outside Trump has a lot of recovery. Like it's a little absurd. Like it doesn't seem like it would be this much, but it is. So if we, we'll have to put it on repeat. If we back up this far, you can 2AB that on reaction. Oh, I have it set to random. Sorry, hold on. Look how much time you, like, I'm looking for it. You know, like you have plenty of time. At this spacing, at this spacing, there's like C gunshot from Tatsuya is not going to hit you. Him dashing up, even in Trump, but obviously in Trump the game's going to play different. But like even when he's in Trump here, he's not going to be able to dash up without you not being able to react to it. And if he super jumps, when you super jump at this spacing, you don't close enough space to get hit. So like at this spacing, you can totally put that on your mental stack without it being a burden. Once you get outside, I'd say this range, because this range is about super jump button range. So at this spacing, obviously I was too slow there. Too slow there. Oh, sorry. But you know, it's barely in the realm reactable. So that's why I said, I think I said anyway, that there's two ways to approach this situation, right? So if you're not comfortable with 2AB for obvious reasons, at that spacing that he air techs away at, you can do that. Whoops. Sorry, I don't play this character. Oh my god. There we go. Wait. Okay, well, I suck at it, but but ideally you wouldn't suck at it. So those are going to be the main two ways, I think. I think super jump JC is going to be super strong. Charge JC, I mean, for that reason, because it can cover Rusian summon, and unlike 2AB where it's not presenting anything, there's multiple things we're covering with this. I know we're going over so much within 30 seconds, but I just think it's so important because for me anyway, how I play the spacing, because you have just straight super jump B approaching, right? Yuda loves this. Takes space, deals with people rising, easily confirms into JC if it's an air to air. Obviously there's the super jump JC, charge JC, which you can jump cancel to stay safe. And then there's more layers. There's double jumping early to deal with people trying to preemptive 5B, in which charge JC is going to snipe it. It also adjusts your spacing. If it's done low enough, he can't shoot it either, I believe. We'll have to test it later whenever we go over what he can punish. But it puts you... That was way too high. That's about right. So yeah, super jump in general is super good in this matchup, because when you present super jump like this at that right spacing, if he... I mean, Alps doesn't do it nearly as much as he should be, but if he even tries that, he's set to guard after, so he's getting counter hit from recovery. He's getting counter hit from recovery there, because he's set to just walk back and guard. So this super jump has so much threat applied to it, and you don't always have to go in. Because obviously the next layer from him, right, it's going to be abusing 5B, it's going to be meeting it air to air, maybe dash under. And if you do this sometimes... Oh, sorry, that's a little too close. I wouldn't do it that close. This, you can catch him trying to dash under, or maybe going in the air. And at the spacing you land at, if he doesn't take advantage of it, dash 5C, fade back, charge JC. Just you have so many options with that spacing. And obviously you already know that, but the reason I'm going over it is because we're not going to see it as much. I don't know 100% what you were going for yet. We'll have to go back over it. But yeah, at that spacing, that's really good. The spacing where he air techs back and it puts you this far. And this is the spacing you're going to play a lot in this set. Not that you should be playing, but that you end up playing. I mean, I think this is too far, even if it's charge 5C spacing, because it's not charge JC spacing. I mean, it's barely outside of it, which is good, right? Because obviously if you do it in the spacing, you're going to get dash buttoned, which you don't necessarily want. But still, when you play as far as this, super jumps become easier to deal with walk back and jump back and everything. So to summarize, this ideal spacing that we want to shoot for is about here, right? Like you know, you could get dashed in on your charge 5C, but alternatively you can dash 5C, or you could 9 charge JC, or you could fade back and bait and then sort of micro dash back into the spacing and jump back to sort of control your space. We can just approach with 9JB. We can super jump JB. We can super jump double jump. And then of course, in the case he's backing up too far and you don't want to run into airgun spacing, or you're worried about random land trump and you maybe give up too much space, if he summons Rusian, you know, you can literally just autopilot 2AB, 236 AB. So we'll let the set play now. I just wanted to go over how I would view this spacing, because it's free success spacing, free success call from him, and then now you're sort of fucked dealing with Rusian. I do agree with up backing. I will say this was probably a little too close. Not this. After whiffing a 5A. But I mean, you could say it's fuzzy jump, and I agree. So I don't think it's bad. It's just something to think about. Good EX rocks, good cancel, good tech. Okay, this we're gonna see a lot for a while, and I think sometimes you're not sure how to air tech versus Tatsuya. So we've gone over it before, but something super degen in Dengeki is that you can sort of air tech and be invuln. So I think you always want to tech towards Tatsuya, because as the Tatsuya player here, when I play Tatsuya, what I'm looking for is forward tech or back tech. If you neutral tech is whatever, I'm just going to back up. But you back tech, Alps immediately should be calling Rusian. Like that's what his flowchart should be on air tech situations post power blast. Is just call Rusian success. Because even if you had double jump forward, hold on, let's go back a second. If Alps would have sat still here and didn't dash at you for whatever reason, once you tech back and he called 6x, even if you double jump forward, charge JC would have landed like right here. It would have been right outside the success summon spacing. And then he could have obviously whiff punished it on top of that. So you always want to tech at Tatsuya. Obviously there'll be layers where you can neutral tech. Yeah, there it is. And present that spacing where it's like, I could air dash at you, and that's why you don't want to call success. But ideally you want to tech forward and abuse the invuln and then late double jump, or neutral jump, or sorry, or neutral tech to have that threat. Yep, good guard, just guard. Ah, unfortunate. His 5e is really degen. I don't really know if there was a way you could have played it better. I think it's just a part of guessing here. Yeah, I think it's just a part of guessing here. At this spacing, even if you had sat still and timed a throw tech, you could have been baited. Ideally, I'd say this was a fuzzy jump spot, so I think you just unfortunately were wrong. Another way you could have approached this, if we want to play the hindsight game where we just have all the answers afterwards, is you could jump and then intentionally immediately double jump and sort of drift probably back a tiny bit, and what would have happened was his 5e wouldn't be able to reach you, and you'd intentionally air guard Rusian. And what that would do is it's going to put you in an invuln state, because a part of the Rusian RPS, which obviously it's still advantageous for Tatsuya, but a part of this RPS is you intentionally guard the Rusian wave, and it's going to put you in this invuln state where you can't be hit. Yeah, I'd say that was a good weight. Even though you're plus 10, I mean, if I'm Alps, I'm 100% trumping here because there's 20 seconds left, so you have trump for the rest of the round, which would let you steamroll 100%. Especially since Mikoto's stacked on full bars, so a single gun whiff could be like 40%. Yep, I agree with that. Nice. Yeah, just way too passive. So I sort of went over his spacings a bit. I'll wait. I want to go over both characters' main game plans and how Mikoto deals with it later. We'll just stick to VOD review. We've already gone over the basic spacings, some of the basic spacings. Nice. Oh, I would have probably power blasted. Yeah, so this is something that's not even just it's not even just Tatsuya matchup, it's any blue Trump matchup. So the worst case scenario in Dengeki, there's a few, right? But some of the worst case scenarios as the loser of round 1 is this situation where you have less meter. And then the second, which I think is the absolute worst and what causes a losing and almost a guaranteed loss. Obviously nothing's guaranteed, but is the winner of round 1 having 2 blue trumps in round 2. And what this means is he gets to be the biggest dickhead, because what happens in this round only affects you. He could spend both trumps in this round if he wanted to. Like, he could trump immediately here, fuck around, trump again later, and round 3 he's still going to have a trump. And ideally, going into trump twice is going to force you to spend it once. That's how ignorant it is. And you can't really stop him from not spending as much as you have to encourage him to trump in round 1, which obviously we're going to go over later. And that was the part of why I said you played too slow and we didn't get enough momentum on our conversions. But like, that's why he mindlessly 2ABs here. I mean, yes, Tatsuya 2ABs degenerate. Yes, he has blast to cover it. Yes, he has a trump cancel to cover it, but that's exactly what it is. There's still this blue trump on the table to where the risk reward is actually almost 0 risk unless you Rambu back the thing. But even if you Rambu back his 2AB, you're fucking broke now. So that's even better for him because he has such a huge resource lead still as the winner of round 1. Sorry, I rambled on a bit. But that's essentially why he did the 2AB and why he's going to be super ignorant throughout this round. Presumably. So this situation just sucks ass, right? And this is just going to come with awareness, but I'd say when you notice him jump here, I would have tried jumping away or running under. I know both of those seem kind of batshit crazy, but what we talked about earlier with intentionally air blocking Rusian is sometimes when you go for that air block, like this would have been a time I'd go for it, even though it does a pretty decent amount of chip. Because even if he had landed and thrown you, if you would have jumped, you would have air blocked 5C at worst. I will say an issue with going for a jump here is if he lands, he could 5B, so that's why sometimes that immediate double jump's important whenever you're intentionally looking to air block Rusian or fuzzy jump away from throw. Nice. Oh, okay, that's fine, I guess. No, it's not fine, actually. So, you're losing a lot of damage here. This is one of those little momentum things that adds up. So let's turn on damage display. Oh shit, he's still fucking calling Rusian. Even when Tatsuya is a robot, he's calling Rusian. So that's with a 236. You did this. That's not even 2000 damage. That is like 4 EB damage. That might be too high. Yeah. But that's like 4 EB damage. So if you don't at least do a 236 first, you're losing 300 damage. If you don't do a 5 AB... Oh, whoops, that was not all hits of 2C. Look how much, that's 500 more damage. That is like, is actually a third of your damage that you're losing out on. So when you do this, it seems like it's like a faster confirm, but it's just, or a better confirm, but it's definitely not even close. Even if you do like this is still so much better. Even if the knockdown is ass versus Tatsuya, where you have to play that super jump versus 2AB RPS. So this is... Oh, fuck, I'm so bad. That's because I'm in windowed mode. Like, you want that. You want this. Or even without the charge JC, you want... You want that. Or you could have dashed 2C'd with that knockdown. There's so much more momentum you get out of that knockdown. When you do this, especially versus Tatsuya or KYH, like, you're putting yourself in that position where it's like, my character can't fucking play. And it's gonna stack up, because as Tatsuya, all this fucking monkey has to do is this. Into a left-right setup. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want that. So, you really need to stop confirming your 2Cs like this. You know? Even if you want to do this, this is at least more damage. Even if the knockdown's fucking dog shit. And then this is ideal. And you could even trump cancel that if you wanted to without spending a single bar. Some good. Bad 268B. Pretty much. When Rusian, I mean, I don't know, I guess we're going over Rusian RPS now. When he gets past you like this, which you didn't recognize it, or you recognize it too late, it's fine. Just look to not deal with the mix-ups. It's easier said than done, but like spending here, obviously you're going to die. EX rocks at the spacing, it's a waste of bar, you should save it for later if he gets closer. You could have jumped away, you could have intentionally blocked the minions. Yeah, now he's good with this shit situation, which thankfully he goes for a string to catch fuzzies. Wow, cool character. Nice. Oh, fuck. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, so HPs are a lot closer now, right? Which is great. There's just a lot of key issues here, though. You're still looking to lose this round off of, like, anything. Oh, you need to jump cancel that. That's essentially what I mean, though. Is that if he had spent a bar to EX gun you here, his blast would have came back, he combo blasts, he spends another bar, climax arts, and kills you. Even if you hit him, you have no meter to burst lock him, he's going to have burst soon, meaning you have to win at least 3 more interactions, because no HP, or sorry, no meter Mikoto isn't even going to kill in 2 interactions here. So essentially, you have to win 3 to 4 interactions here. His trump state's still halfway filled, so he can call 6-outs whenever the fuck he wants, despite matchup nuances. And then, like, if you lose the round, which I'm gonna assume happens unless Alps throws it away. Oh, nice. Oh, not nice. Yeah. So, let's look at this situation. You have a 1 bar. You don't have blast. He has 2 bars and blast buffed. He has the overwhelming advantage here, which is just unfortunate. So that's why you don't want to spend too much. Or that's why you didn't want to burst there and spend too much. Actually, to expand on it a little bit further, if we go back. When you combo blast, I wouldn't do it in round 1 like this unless it's gonna kill, because you want it as an escape blast later. Because what I talked about at about this timing was that he could have escape blasted if you had hit him again, like in a bit. So he had to force an extra interaction on you. The same concept goes to you, right? By holding on the blast here and not overspending, you could have forced more interactions out of him to win. When you do a raw 5AB, I think you can just, yeah, you can just do that on raw 5AB. So you don't have to combo blast cancel and hit, unless it's like round 3 and you're just so stacked that you want to do that. But this is about the same damage, which is bad. That's how bad AB Paration is. Okay, so we've successfully gotten past what I'm going to say is the most boring part. I'm just not good at analyzing other people's footage as much as I am sort of showing off what you should be doing in training mode. I apologize if that was a brutal 20 minutes, but we're going to start just by re-going over some spacing things, because we only went over dealing with success spacing, right? We talked about, give me a sec to set some stuff up. We talked about dealing with success summoning with 2AB and charge JC, but we're just going to go over the general matchup now. We're going to go over general neutral. So in general neutral, I'd say this spacing, probably about perfect. This is probably our ideal spacing, and we can jump back if we feel like he's going to approach and threaten. If we're wrong, we can correct. Or we can air dash pretty fucking far forward. So that's some of the basic options here. There's obviously charge JC, which this should OTG'd, but I suck. There's dash 5C. There's 9J buttons. And then there's backing up into a super jump spacing where it's harder to dash under. And then obviously the super jump RPS we talked about. But this is the general spacing. So it sort of negates 5C as you see when we play this spacing, but I don't think charge 5C is very important in this matchup overall. I think when charge 5C appears is, let's say I don't know, he jumps back. He just starts fucking jumping away like crazy. And then he's here, right? This is when I think maybe a charge 5C could appear. Especially in Trump, when you can actually, not get fucking shot for it. So I think that shouldn't even be on the table most of the time. Instead, this spacing, where we have so much freedom to do whatever the fuck we want, is the most important spacing to play. And I want to expand a little bit further on super jumping and just being in the air in general versus Tatsuya. So we're going to go over Tatsuya's game plan slightly. I know you already know some about it, but Tatsuya is, he's degenerate because of, he's degenerate because of gun. And he's degenerate because he can check your air techs with Rusian call, or because if you don't approach him and you're too slow to react to this, he can just do this. And then left, right, you, right? So we have to go over some of Tatsuya's weaknesses. And despite how strong he is, he does have some weaknesses, even against Mikoto. And it's mainly these dead zones. It's not as, not as atrocious as Mikoto dead zones, but these are dead zones, so they're easy to cover, right? And same with airgun. Alright, I said easy to cover, but they're possible to cover, should be what I say. With airgun, this is how low it goes. With dive kick, you can be above it. With normal gun, you could cause it to whiff entirely. So with Mikoto, by doing super jump approaches and by jumping, you can put yourself above airgun. You can put yourself above dive kick. You can close space when he's up backing, and then double jump if you get too close for your own liking. And in general, it's going to put you at the spacing where you have so many ambiguous air options, like air stalling that catches dashing, JC, which is you know, kind of hard to just dash 5B at will, right? Like, this is a pretty nice JC, all things considered. And JB is nice to approach with due to its range. And Tatsuya's answers to this, I mean, he can try to 5B, like I said. But it's difficult because of JC. Or he could try to air you, but if he does that, he risks getting dash undered. So his main goal, with all that off the table, the best thing he can do is dash 5C after you've spent a double jump, or after you're super minus on a double jump charge DC, or after a 236 string under neutral from random dash 5C on your end, right? It's going to be dash 5C on his end because he can autopilot this even if you jump and it catches you. So I think the main thing to look out for, past random gunshot, you know, past dealing with gunshot and being above it and over it, or past calling out 6S, or past dealing with 5B with jump normals, or catching dash button attempts with 5C. I think putting yourself at spacings to where you're sort of outside this dash 5C range is what's going to be important. Or being aware of the 5C and like, here we'll do, oh sorry, we'll do this. Being aware of the 5C and then causing gun to whiff, which seems unrealistic, but it's totally fucking possible if he's over relying on this. You know, you do whatever the fuck you want, right? So if he's over relying on 5C, you can do that. So as strong as Tatsuya is, it's important to keep in mind that compared to Shanma or even Yuki or even Asuna, his neutral is super linear outside Trump, and his basic game plan is to not interact. Because, I mean, sure, he's got a lot of degen tools, but if he plays your game, it's not, I'm not going to say it's a losing fight as much as it's a lot more difficult than it seems. It's just his reward's so high that you forget that. It's easy to forget that. But his neutral is super linear to where he's just looking to JA. He's looking to occasionally scout above bad charge 2Cs like you did in that set. Or, like, shoot you occasionally for trying to dash 5C while he upbacks. And then, of course, pinning your landings with 5C. And Alps loves 5C, so that's really important to remember. Alps is mainly looking, when you watch him play, and I'm going to help him a little bit with the matchup too, so be ready for that. But Alps is mainly looking to use this degenerate button. It moves him forward. It catches jumps really well. It's kind of disgusting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show how well it catches jumps or not. I don't think I am. I think I suck. Yeah, it hits so high, and he can always confirm it in 236. And because there's 10 frames of no guard, it's really important to keep in mind when you've overcommitted in spacing and look to block that 5C. It's such an important part. I definitely rambled on a bit, but that's general spacing things, and that's generally his simple options outside Trump. And we've already gone over how you can toy B on reaction to success, or look to super jump feint, or even just throw out charged AC to discourage random success. And how do we go from here? We'll talk about your pacing next. We'll talk about pacing. There was a lot of backing up, which I think is right. And especially like when you play Busy the other day in Kirino and she's just all over you, is right to back up and create space because they're going to close it for you. But in Tatsuya's case, that's not normally the case. Of course, as Alps gets better and more comfortable with the matchup, he's going to present threats more. But as we just discussed with Tatsuya's neutral, his choices are a lot more linear than yours, despite the reward, right? They're a lot more linear. They're a lot more quote-unquote predictable to where you can scout around them and constantly be a threat to his success. So one of your main goals at the spacing we've established is to stay aggressive and on top of him. And, you know, you can... Oh, wow, I guess you can't confirm that. You have to do that. That's why they autopilot that. But yeah, you have to stay on top of him, because when you give up this much space, you know, maybe it's charge 5C spacing, but like I said, this isn't very useful. Like what the fuck? Like, you could do that maybe, right? Do this to block the gun, but you spent a bar. And this bar you could have spent to EX rocks later. It's a bar you could have spent to do a Trump extension in the corner. Like, there's so much you could have done with it. It just wasn't worth it. So So that's why you need to stay aggressive, because once you're at this spacing, Tatsuya only has to worry about you being ready to answer 6S and this, right? And this is like whatever, I fucking jump over it by randomly super jump scouting or dash jumping, or this, I shoot it, or you waste a bar. And even if he doesn't whiff punish you for this, or you with this at a low enough space where he can't punish it, Tatsuya's game plan just becomes look for it if you over rely on it and it's whiffing, and he just calls 6S on your whiff. And if he's calling 6S on your whiffs because you're playing too far out, it's no longer how do you answer Tatsuya neutral. It's going to become the next segment where we're going to talk about how you deal with Rusian. And that's just, it's just so stacked against you. Even as Shana Tatsuya, even as Yuki area, when Tatsuya has Rusian 6S up, it's like, it's immediately a 4-6 matchup. You know? Like, it's just not good for anybody once Rusian's up. So it's, when you play this spacing, I think it's okay to sometimes ambiguously back up, because he is going to dash at you sometimes, and especially in Trump, he's so much fucking faster. But you need to not whiff so much shit at such a far spacing. Like, it needs to be in your mind that I would personally, as Mikoto, rather not present something at this spacing and he flies at me and I block it than I would whiffing this and he calls 6S. Because if he doesn't fly at you, you don't have to block something. Instead, you dash into the spacing again. You just start to close the gap slightly. And you can, you can jump, or, you can do whatever. But the point is you re-enter the spacing to where there's a bunch of different threat options. And that's what's important. Because if you watch this set, either yesterday's you didn't make public, or today's, or sorry, the one you did make public, you do a lot of too much backing up. And it's easy to forget because there's so much screen space, but it's so important to have this ambiguous threat of all the options we talked about, versus a character who has to like surgically answer them to get his degenerate one-player game going, or not answer them at all, which is of course an option for Tatsuya. So I guess we'll talk about some Rusian RPS, which is just so much fun. I'm just so excited for this part. This won't be boring at all. So there's a few different knockdowns you have to worry about with Tatsuya. So there's this knockdown, which is super advantageous for him. This one, I would fuzzy jump at most. I notice you sometimes present mash. But when he does EX gun knockdown, you could fuzzy mash if he's gonna try to grab, but even then you're better off just fuzzy jumping like a scrub, which I just did right there. And then obviously you use the guard or use the invuln on the first wave to either late double jump or land fuzzy 2-1-4 AB, or whatever you want, right? But on that knockdown, it's his most advantageous call. Second most advantageous call, I'm gonna put these in the same category, is grab 6S 236B, which you don't immediately RPS for reasons I'll show in a second. And then his other knockdown is the B slide. Oh, what? But that's his other one. I did not get the gunshot follow-up, and I am being a scrub. Hold on. Oh, okay. There's a lot of time. I'm just going to use the grab one as an example. But basically, if you RPS either of these immediately, which I'll show you how we're going to RPS it, we're going to probably have to fucking fuzzy jump again, because Rusian's boring as fuck to counterplay. If you don't block this, this is a left-right setup now. Do not RPS those knockdowns immediately, because the basic tick throw setup is, wait, what? Oh, it was a grab, that's why. The basic tick throw setup is annoying, right? But this is so much more difficult to block. That crossed up. I guess my inputs aren't on, but that crossed up. And there's the same side option. And it leads to him 2ABing and resetting the Rusian timer because he's a fair character. So we don't want to immediately RPS those knockdowns. Instead, you can fuzzy jump, you can wait. Yeah. Yeah. I just like at these spacings, it's so enticing because look how far you are. It's so enticing to do something. It's just not worth it. As annoying it is to block it, because the mix he's gonna get if you do RPS it is so much worse than a basic tick throw that you could fuzzy jump or taking advantage of first wave invuln and RPSing there, right? It's like picking your spots, picking and choosing your spots. Okay, the final non-Trump knockdown he can call Rusian off of I wanted to talk about was is J214. Oh, what the hell? Sorry. This knockdown. Whoops. And I messed it up. So this is important because Alps does this sometimes against you, and he shouldn't be allowed to get away with this. This knockdown outside of Trump, only outside of Trump, is not advantageous if he calls Rusian. I'm not going to say it's super plus in your favor, but it's minus on his side. To where you could jump away if you wanted, you can dash 5C if you want. Oh, I suck. Let's get a better example to show. Hold on. That's good. So off this knockdown, if he calls Rusian, you wake up before he can do gunshot. So you can RPS this one, and it's so important to RPS this one because he's not allowed to call Rusian here. That's why he's supposed to be doing air gun knockdowns, which he does have advantage with. Okay. We'll go over blocking the Trump left-right in a bit. I don't really fucking want to do it right now. We'll instead go over, I guess, general Rusian RPS. So if he gets this out, you do it. You do this, which is good. But you want to take advantage of blocking the minion waves and having invuln. And then you can RPS with that. Alternatively, some stuff you can be doing during this is intentionally super jumping like that to go over him, which in this case I don't, right? I would not air dash even though I just did. Whoops, you have to block this. You can't switch your guard. Sorry. Yeah, just intentionally going over and then maybe fuzzy jumping. Or you can like up back, up back, up back. It encourages him to move forward. And then super jump forward. You can do things like that. Super jumping in general to go over him as he's dashing at you is super nice. You just have to be careful not to do it too late. Another thing you probably notice with the super jump is like, once I super jump like right here, I go over a dash 5B, and there's, at some timings, you could even like intentionally block the second wave. So those are stuff you can do. In general, I notice whenever you jump versus Rusian, it's always this way. And I'm not saying to just, okay, we'll jump this way. I'm just saying you can super jump over him, you could super jump double jump, and then push block him out once you block the minion wave, push block the second minion wave, you know what I mean? Like you can fuck with a lot of his spacings. Obviously, it's still in his favor, and you have to worry about getting shot from certain situations that appear, but like, you don't want to do this. You know, you don't want to just wait. You don't want to just wait, because then he has a guaranteed mix, and usually the alternative to, okay, I'm not going to wait, is mashing, right? Like, I'm going to try to mash. And then maybe I'll cancel into Rambu if it's right. But instead, you could just circumvent all of it. You know, maybe I push guard my way here, and then I super jump here. Then I air guard that and reflect guard it, right? Like, there's so much more you can do than just, okay, I'm going to block. Okay, I'm going to mash. Okay, I'm going to fuzzy jump. It's still in his favor, but like you can get quote-unquote creative with it and make him really second guess when he has advantage. And Alps in particular is going to do a lot of dash 5B to check it, to where you can cycle back in just blocking. Oh, because I paused. Sorry, I'm trash. Okay, well, I immediately made him double jump. But when he jumps like this, if he falls with a button, it's going to be same side. If he double jumps, it's cross up. And obviously, if you assume it's going to be cross up every time, you're not going to react to it not being cross up, if that makes sense, right? Like, what's the tell if you guess cross up and are looking for same side? There's none, right? You're just going to get mixed. So, when we block this mix... What is he doing? What is he cooking? I see it. Okay. so we're gonna block same side and we're gonna switch our guard on the jump. I know that that's barely reactable and you're not gonna get it every time, but this is the basic setup. Look for the double jump. And that's what all of these left rights are like. And if you don't see the double jump, because he's not doing the one I want him to do, we're just going to set him to do it. Oh, I think that... Yeah, the dummy broke. Okay. Well, we live in a society. Okay, so pretend the dummy isn't broken. If he goes same side, as I showed, we're just blocking same side the whole time. And we're only switching our guard on the double jump. We're not fuzzy timing it. We're not doing anything like that. We are just looking for the double jump and then immediately switching our guard after. And that is the tell for any left-right that is of the style of falling button versus air dash or double jump. So that's the way you could try to reduce, because you don't get a blue trump, so you do have to just react low. You don't really get to spend your expensive resource on a left-right you can't Rambu anyway to at least block it. You have to learn to block it properly, which is, you know, it's annoying, but it can't be helped. We're turning this off. Oh god, I don't want to. Okay, we're done with Rusian. I don't want to fucking talk about Rusian anymore. Shit, we still have to talk about Rusian. Okay, so we'll go over. We'll go over this. This is only going to appear. Sometimes you'll see this. You have to neutral tech. If you forward tech, you go over it. And if you hit Rusian now, you're going to send him flying off screen. If you back tech, I hit him, but he recovered. So that doesn't work. And then finally, neutral tech. Oh, you have to neutral tech. You can't delay tech in this game very well. What the? Can you not tech with a support button? There we go. You know what I mean? Like, you have advantage here. Just sort of just... maybe dash 5C is better here. Yeah. Because he's forced to block it, or air block it, and then 236 finishes off Rusian, right? So you want a neutral tech there. The next layer is going to be backing up. And if he backs up, then forward tech works, but you don't... Just neutral tech, it's okay. If you neutral tech and he backs up, this is so much better than him calling Rusian, right? Or if he dashes under, we just play the spacing we talked about earlier, right? So you have to neutral tech here like every time, and you have invuln on the way down. You just have to correct your guard if he dashes under you into buttons, or you could late double jump. You know what I mean? So you have to neutral tech there. Yeah, I mean that's hopefully all we have to talk about for Rusian, because that's not fun to talk about at all. Okay, so now we get to talk about Mikoto things again. So with Mikoto, oh shit, he's fighting back. So with Mikoto, defending success. There's a few ways we can go about it. Grab success. That's pretty, I guess, not good. I lied to you. We can grab Kouko. That's pretty decent. It gets charm up. It, you know, it does a bit of damage. Oh, there's actually something else you can do here, which is pretty cool. I don't know if Yuta's probably done this. I mean, he. Oh, what the hell? That's not it. Oh, I'm bad. You can actually push them out if you want, but you're gonna see it in block strings. I don't know how I want to go over this. We'll go over it another time. Okay, we're gonna go into Kouko stuff. But how do I want to talk about it? Oh, yeah. So something that happened a lot when you had Kouko up, I'd say full screen. Alps just runs through it. And the issue is, no, let's not go. This would happen, and then you do this, and this would literally be the spacing you guys would be at now. If this happens, we want to stop this from happening at all. But if this happens, you immediately need to get back into this space, like around here, where you can do this to deal with Rusian, or you can do this, or you could, you know, you could present threat and then back up a slightly. You know what I mean? You need to get back in that spacing when that happens. Alternatively, something you need to think about as well is not jumping so far forward in front of Kouko. I want to say it's tough, right? Because like if you just mindlessly 5C, then it becomes a layer of him shooting you, right? So I think instead something we can do is it's gonna be goofy. We can call Kouko and just dash ourselves, and we'll be ready for it. He runs so fast, so much faster than I thought he would. So let's go a little bit further. Let's say we call success here, and he's gonna try to run through it, because Alps will do things just without any regards to your spacing at all. He'll just go full screen grab or some crazy shit. So we just dash, and then we see him dashing up, right? And we just hit a button. And if he jumps, we have Kouko right behind us, just swing into anti-air him. It's not a big deal. If he Trump Rambus, it's fine. It's going to happen sometimes. And him spending Trump there would probably be better than later. So, I think sometimes you can just run with Kouko. And even if they do something like this... Not yet. You have the advantage of him now facing away from you. I mean, even if he doubled and then... Okay, yeah, actually, it's a good point. We gotta show that. If he had instead not just landed, if he had done this... We can try to rising button it. I mean, sure, it traded there, right? But if he had gunshotted, it would have been too slow. If he did dive kick, it would have had too much startup. So, like... We're just playing, I mean, it's just FG's 101, right? We're just playing our advantageous situation here. Where we stop the, oh wow, holy shit. That wasn't supposed to happen. I guess that can happen sometimes. Where we're looking to stop him from running through it with our own collision box. And then... Fucking training move's so ass. You know, like you're looking for the double jump because you can't do anything anymore. And then he jumps over you, he's now facing the wrong way. And if he double jumps to correct it, you've sort of checkmated his movement options, right? And if he land trumps, I mean, there's times where you could just... You're looking for the double jump, so he landed trumps. You go to a spacing to where it's not a huge deal. You know what I mean? You're at the spacing where I'm sure he could dash button, but you could easily just 5C. Hopefully you'd be outside of A button spacing, of course. But you get what I mean? Like, you have a general advantage here. Even if you don't start Kouko block strings, you have general advantage. And I still think you should present like, oh my god, he's coming at me. I still think you should present like charged AC and stuff. But it's just important to realize that you don't always have to jump and look to cut off air-to-airs and stuff. Especially if it's a Kouko call that's not after a grab, or not after 2-1-4 AB knockdown, or not after JC IAD, JC OTG knockdown, right? Kouko doesn't have to be this mix-up tool like Rusian would be. It's mainly about the fact you can cut off opponents' movement options and have advantageous neutral to where they have to worry about Kouko. That's the most important part. It's the fact that you have to worry about Kouko. I know Koko's like, oh, this stupid girl just has to walk back after, right? Like, watch, she's just gonna, wow, thanks Kouko, just fucking walk off the screen, right? But her state of persistence is so, like, she's persistent before she starts swinging right about, like, here. She's like persistent because she's close enough and she can't be hit away. And if you get tagged by something, she'll trade for you and all of that. So she's really a tool to sort of like cover these dead zones that you can play with, and then you could run through her as well and dash button. You know what I mean? Like, she's not necessarily just a mix-up tool. This utility and neutral she has is that this is now just a walking hitbox that the opponent has to play around, right? If he tries to call Rusian here and you were to, I don't know, dash charge 5C and he blocks it, Kouko would back it up. If he gets hit, then, you know, you wouldn't get punished for it. It's things like that that it opens up that you need to take advantage of, rather than playing around defending Kouko, because it's not just about defending Kouko, it's about the situations that Kouko existing opens up. Maybe you don't defend her and she gets hit, but in turn, you can dash pin their landing, or you could dash and then feint a pin, and then they spend a blue trump, right? Like, that's so much better than a mix-up that they can push block at times, which is literally why you'll see Yuta push people out of Koko's success hits, because then there's no throw threat, and you just look for 4AB. Okay. I had to scrap my previous pressure segment, so I don't know how it's going to cut. But let's talk about layer 0 Dengeki pressure. So the basis of everything, absolutely fucking everything, is push block, and we'll just throw in fuzzy jump. We'll just say fuzzy jump's a part of it. So there's two ways to view push block. There's like wake up push block, there's preemptive push block, which is like one category. I'd say it's about the same, where we just do it because we feel out of timing. And then there's reactive push block. We see a string starting, or we see certain strengths of normals, right? These are the main ways to push block. Both are good. Neither are bad as much as both of them are good, and both of them are present. So we sort of have to feel out the way these things are going to appear, and that's a part of why I gas up Mikoto 2C so much. So you could literally do this, and you could get so much information out of it. Because if the 5A gets push blocked immediately... Oh, what happened? See, what happened? If the 5A gets push blocked immediately... Oh, sorry, hold on. This was probably a preemptive push block, right? If the 5A gets push blocked there, we know that they're looking for strings. And sometimes even this 2C stagger can catch them, which I suck ass at showing how. There we go. Right? So we're looking to identify these two things to push block. And it's not something you do with, I'd say like, it's not something you'd consciously look for. It's just a thing to think about. Those are the two main ways to push block. And the ways we can play around them are In the case of preemptive push blocks, we can, you know, we can jump button, we can slightly stagger our 2C, we can slightly stagger our 2As into 2Cs, we can, oh, sorry, and then for reaction, we can just do stuff like this. And abusing these wide stagger windows is super important. Obviously, there's going to be different issues. There's going to be OSs, such as, you know, blue trump OS. You could 1AC, you could 4AC. There's going to be random AB interactions, and there's going to be fuzzy jumping, and there's going to be a bunch of different layers you have to adjust according to that. But the basic idea is that you can look to stop preemptive push block just by jump baiting, delaying buttons, and ideally switch the push blocking to a more reactive style. And once it's reactive, 5A, grab, 5A, delay 2C, 5A, delay jump cancel, which there's a huge window you can delay it. This is super important. You can do it normal, and then delay the jump cancel. And if they try to jump with you, they could risk getting clapped by 2C or 5C, right? And with that in mind, we ideally, hopefully switch their defensive styles to either just blocking or fuzzy jumping. I'm going to fall on the latter almost all the time because fuck holding mix-ups. So you can do things like 5A and then staggered to a super hard late. And this is going to catch fuzzy jumping. And then alternatively, if they're not fuzzy jumping or you've established you're willing to deal with it, 5A, grab. And then the alternative to that is 5A, jump cancel. And this will get around trump OSs. It's going to get around throw techs. You can 5A, delay 4AB. You can 5A, 2A, delay 4AB. Yeah. So the thing about 2C. We already talked about how 2C is just so good because it's only -2, and it's great at checking both types of push block to really get an idea of our opponent. But another thing about 2C is the spacing it leaves us at. So for Mikoto, you can do this. You could do this. Oh, sorry, I'm trash. You could do stuff like that. You could do double jumps. Like, you have so many options. And this 2C is only -2. So you can do stuff like this. Sorry, I'm trash. Maybe you can't do this. Maybe it's better to sometimes just... Yeah, this is probably better. And even though I think this is -8 when it's 2 through 6C, you sort of are now at this spacing to where you can play around charge JC again. And you can look for jumps to back up and walk out of. You can keep them locked in general, right? So that's important things to keep in mind. Hopefully that makes sense. Of course, you can talk to me if that was too vague or if there was too much thrown in there without a clear direction of how the layers build up. But I think that's pretty decent at giving some ideas. Because in comparison right now, you do a lot of purely just canned, or you do this on loop, and it's like, you know, just, you know, you just wait it out, and then it's like whatever, right? It's jump canceling with the intent of continuing pressure rather than answering things. And so what you're looking to answer is people's reactive push block once that's established, or to deal with tick throw situations that you've established with 5A recover grab. And of course you have to worry about them fuzzy jumping. So again, 5A, 2A, 5A, 2C. This is the best way to deal with fuzzies, because it's a multi-hit low. It's only -2 in the spacing. So if they fuzzy, you know, they might block the first 2 hits of 2C, but their fuzzy timing causes them to stand on the 3rd hit. That is why when you were studying Mikoto, I got hit by 2C so often, because that is such a hard normal to fuzzy. It's why you'll see, I think his name's Deputy Manager in JP footage, he just blows up Shana Tatsuya's with like Mikoto Uiharu, just mashing 2C in pressure, because it's such a good way to deal with the almost all of the fuzzy options in the game except Trump, right? And even if they blue Trump, they're forced to Rambu and spend 2 bars, which doesn't matter on Tatsuya, but on somebody like Yuki, that's really annoying, because I then have to switch to a less rewarding Oki loop, which it's like, oh, bullshit, you know, you're top -1 to top 1 now, right? But it's like, the point is 2C, it's such a strong normal. And behind 2C, you can go as far as to occasionally check with 236C. But this is important to think about. You do this a lot. You do a lot of autopilot 236C. When you do this, we were talking about how at 2C you could jump immediately and play with it. When you do this, you have to wait. You have to wait. Because if I do this, we're going to set the dummy up real quick. Hold on. Okay. Look at that. I don't think that's a punish, but I think it caught me in my jump startup. That is why it's so important. Characters like Tatsuya who autopilot these kind of strings endlessly, or Yuki doing dash 5B or dash 5A because she's so fast, Kouko doing dash 5B 236, you don't have pressure anymore when you end with 236. So it's important to establish 236, but not as a main pressure tool, because you lose ambiguity. Wow, English is hard. Because this is only -2 otherwise, which is insane, right? I mean, the spacing it leaves you at, and on a longer string, where even if they push block after the second 2A, the later hits of 5C are going to hit them. It's going to be the later hits. It's not going to be the first 2 or 3, but it will hit them at some point, leaving you only -2 and recovering on time.